How you doing today, folks? So first off, I want to talk a little bit about this knife and the experience of buying it. So this is a full custom handmade knife. It's actually from the secondary market. So the person I bought it from was misquoted on price. I talked to the actual maker. Maker says 850. The guy says 1200. You know, stuff was already sent out. It was too late to do anything about it. So I'm dealing with the secondary market. I want everyone to, try to, especially with a custom knife. Most makers are very humble people. You can reach out to them, ask a question, they'll respond to you. No problem. I forgot that rule and I got kind of burned in the process. But honestly, I'm actually pretty happy with it. The trade, it was mostly a trade with a little bit of cash on top, so not too bad. I actually recorded a first impressions video of this about 2 weeks ago, and it's I kind of was sitting on it. I wanted to give it a little more couple of days to figure out how I actually felt about this knife. And the first impressions was pretty inaccurate. So I scrapped it, deleted it. So here's 2 weeks of use. I actually went hunting with this knife the same day that I got it. I had a buddy of mine that happened to meet, like, hey, you want to go out with us? And I was like, sure. And I didn't have my normal Skinner knife, which is a Winkler, or anything like that. So we went out, did all this stuff. So this knife has gutted and skinned out a deer, chopped through some freaking antlers, some other stuff. I love this knife. I wasn't a huge fan at first, and it kind of said as much. And then once I really started to use it and experience it and develop it, like, this thing is fantastic. I absolutely love it. So without further ado, this is the Javalina by DSK, which I'm pretty sure means Dan Sullivan Knives, made by the man himself, Dan Sullivan. So wrapped it in the bubble wrap to give them more unboxing effect, but again, this has been used quite a bit. So just take a look at that, folks. Maybe this speaks to you, maybe it doesn't, but I absolutely love the aesthetics of this knife. Now, as you can tell, this is a pretty small knife. Well, to be clear, it's almost 4 inches, but I have big ass hands, so it looks pretty small on camera. But it is a weighty beast. There's pretty much no milling taken out. There's a little bit, if I can find my little light. So there's no milling at all. I thought there might be a little bit. There is none, just a straight titanium scale. Big, thick slab of titanium. Obviously milling for the rock texture. The action is kind of hard to get, so I might work this perfectly. It might fail halfway through. The action is fantastic. It just has a method I haven't quite mastered yet. So, as you can see right there, did not make it. Let's try that one more time. There we go. And that's no wrist flick, by the way. It's just the weight of the blade coming out. And look at this blade. This is absolutely beautiful. A couple more scratches on it, unfortunately. It does scratch pretty easy, but again, everybody knows I use my knife, so this is going to happen no matter what. So I'm glad I put my marks on it, and it's not a save queen. But this is a surface oxide finish. To be clear, Dan does not offer this anymore. He will occasionally do them. It's such an unpredictable process. Anybody who's a fan of Medford will know his Vulcan finish. It's basically the same process, but it's completely random. So this finish will never happen again with quite this amount of detail to it. It's something that either works or it doesn't. So whenever he does them, he'll put them available for sale, and then you either like it or you don't. But if you want to order a custom piece from him, does not offer this finish just because it's so unpredictable. Sometimes it's completely blacked out, sometimes it's very minimal. But if you get one and you see one, personally, I love it. I was actually talking to Dan about this finish, and I guess you're basically imparting rust into a stainless blade. So kind of counterproductive, but wasn't aware of that when I got it, and I still really like it. Just make sure to put a nice chunk of oil on it. So one piece I really want to talk about on this knife is how smart the fit and finish is and the action is. Now, again, you can absolutely flick this knife out. It rockets out. It'll literally make your whole wrist move because of how heavy the blade is. But the crazy thing about it is this detent, okay? So you can do this and it's not gonna, you know, anything reasonable, it's not gonna fall down. It's not gonna cut you. There is multiple spots where this knife will just not move further, okay? Now maybe it doesn't seem quite all that cool to you, but when you take into consideration that you can also just do this, I can get the lock to fail, and it drops straight down. This is that custom knife fit and finish that I talk to everybody about. When you get something really fantastic and it just works, and it works in crazy ways. So if you're trying to slow roll this knife or slow close it, you know, it doesn't feel the best. There's a whole bunch of little stops. You can visibly feel that. But again, to make it to where if this lock disengages, there's multiple safety precautions, but at the same time, have your tolerances down so smooth. If you do a nice deliberate flick down, it just drops like nothing. That's incredible. There's this weird fad going around. Everybody wants drop shut action. Personally, I want a knife that's not going to drop on my fucking hand. So to have this perfect middle ground to where if you want to just shake it shut, you definitely can, but it'll also sit there and you know, just function as this perfect tool. Fantastic. As far as the scales, there are 0 hot spots. There's this weirdly ramped clip, which I didn't really understand, but then I actually put it in my pants, which is also why I kind of canceled the first video. And it just sits so nicely. Also, with the way this whole thing is designed, this is pretty much how this clip would have to be. Now, it does offer milled clips, which have different ramps to it, and I actually ordered one of those from him because I just prefer milled clips more. But this, despite the weird little look, is fantastic. It was poking me in the palm, but I adjusted my grip a little bit, and honestly, the new grip feels better. So as far as how it is in hand is absolutely fantastic. Now this is a smaller knife for me, so I have to use this finger choil. If I choose to be all the way down, I'm like this, which, you know, it isn't that bad actually, because this thing kind of pivots down, and it's still very, very smooth. So even if I want to hold it just like a normal person will hold a knife, you know, it still fits. It is kind of cramped. It tends to, you know, it's more comfortable on the finger choil for sure, but you know, Dan just put that extra thought into it, and this whole thing is just so smooth and feels so good that, you know, it doesn't even matter. You can hold way down here, and it's still a nice, sure and solid grip. So that's fantastic. We have this kind of crazy raised up thumb stud, which I get for this blade thickness and the scales and everything else. You know, it really kind of needed to be this way. I kind of disliked it at first, but the more I've been using it, the more I really understand the purpose of it. You can just get such excellent grip and traction on it. It feels absolutely fantastic in hand. I love it, actually. We have, as you can see, non-proprietary pivot, but it's only on one side, so, you know, it's not a free spinning thing. Very easy to take apart. The same size screws as the pivot, so that's fantastic. And again, if you want to take it apart, bam, bam, bam. Very simple, but very sturdy. This knife is not going anywhere. There is a little bit of blade play within the handle. It's not much. And when you have it actually locked out, it is a rock. The only thing you're seeing moving is my hand moving as I'm flexing it, so it looks kind of wonky on camera. But I'm telling you, there's no up and down play. There's no side to side play. This is an absolute rock. Now, as far as the blade, this is one hell of a blade. Oh my God, this thing is sharp. Now, when I first got this in hand, again, I went home, recorded the video. Sorry about that. Ran out of storage mid-video. Had to go purchase some more on the old iPhone, iCloud, whatever, Apple Store. Anyways, as I was saying, when I first got this in hand, went home, unboxed it, talked to you guys about it for about 15 minutes, and was really kind of underwhelmed with it. You know, I loved the aesthetic wise, but some of the opening stuff bothered me, so I was having problems actuating the thumb stud. This jimping is kind of weird, but it's actually there because Dan wants you to do this, which I've never done before when it comes to a folding knife, but it actually works better, and it's almost like a revelation for me to sort of having to do this. I have these big fat thumbs and try to jam it. You can still get it out that way, but it's not the most comfortable. But, you know, hold it in hand like you're actually using it. Take your finger, do that, disengage. It's very safe, and that's it. It's fantastic. But anyway, so I wasn't understanding that. So I sat on the video. I wanted to give it a couple more days. In that time frame, a buddy of mine asked to go hunting. You know, I was already out. Didn't have time to go back and get my Winkler Skinner knife or anything like that. So we just took off. And the only thing I had in my pocket and to me was this. And as you can see, it's not broken. Nothing's wrong with it. This thing was used. Again, it was a whole bunch of stuff. And it, man, for all you hunters out there, you know how delicate it is when you're actually skinning game. You know, you don't want to nick that gut sack or anything like that. It spoils the meat. You know, if you hit the liver or anything like that, it's just a massive problem. So having a very sharp, easy to control blade is absolutely essential. Now for me, I literally pulled it out, whipped it down like that. It folds so nicely into this position, right? Where your kind of middle finger sits right here, your pointer finger's right here, and it just sits like this. And I was able to process game so incredibly effectively that even when I got my Winkler back, I didn't use it. Now my Winkler is an expensive knife. It's freaking completely handmade, very hard to come by, and it's incredible. And this thing beat it. I was so blown away, especially because if you look at this blade shape, you wouldn't think it'd be the most effective for skinning, but there's this gradual taper that you can't even really see on camera that makes it to be able to cut through game so effectively. You know, there was genuinely no issues. My buddies who saw it were like, how the hell is it doing that? And I handed it to them and they whipped it out too, and the same thing, and they were just blown away. And it was just crazy to me. So this blade is fantastic. I am not a huge fan of the whole sheep's foot, Warren-Cliff cleaver thing. Never have been. This is kind of a whole sheep's foot, Warren-Cliff cleaver thing, and I love it. Oh my God, I love it. It is so effective at that. So as far as the blade, I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is the best blade I've ever experienced in my life. You know, screw the PM2s and everything else, fantastic knives, but for what this is, which I really want to like to hard use my knives, this thing, man, it's perfect. It actually dethrones the Manix 2. I haven't had as long as the Manix 2, so that statement might be premature to be clear. But for right now, I like hard using this one more than I do my Manix 2. This is incredible. Now, again, the scales have this very nice texturing to them, right? A lot of people, when they do kind of this like rock texture, they don't properly round out and chamfer these top pieces. So they make it to have where it has this aesthetic piece, but there's little hot spots all over the place. This knife has 0 hot spots. You know, again, if I hold it like this with my little pinky down here, not a problem. If I roll it up a little bit so it's more comfortable in hand, not a problem. There's just no hot spots. It's perfect. This clip at first was poking me in the palm pretty good, and then I just adjusted my grip just a little bit. I was like, oh, it actually fits perfect. Still getting the milled clip to be made, but like, there's just no problems. There is one negative to this knife, and for me personally, it's not really a big deal. I've never had an issue with it before, but this blade is very, very close to the scale. And if you put your finger in here, you can absolutely feel the blade. Now, I want to make this very clear. When I was speaking to Dan about wanting to have like this oversized custom model, because I'm getting a custom from him, one of the first things he told me is that you can reach your finger in here if I go any bigger, and you can cut yourself. You can get your pinky in there, you can get an index finger in there, you might get a tip in there, and you will cut yourself, and it sucks. I don't make knives that wide anymore for that reason. Okay, so I'm not sure how old this model is, but you know, it's still there. But Dan is aware of it. He's making steps to rectify it, and even still, like, I'm touching the blade right now. Unless I just took my finger and just ran it down, I'm not gonna cut myself. As far as the palm sliding into the pocket, you know, it's not there. I'm not gonna cut myself. And again, being aware of that, it does that. For the most part, is all it really takes. There are no perfect knives. There are no perfect tools. Everything has a small trade-off. And if this is the only trade-off for a knife, otherwise is absolutely perfect, man, I'll take it. Now, this is going to be a surprise to nobody, but my score for the DSK Tactical Javalina in contoured rock textured titanium with a surface oxide finish is a 10. Now, aesthetic-wise, which is kind of one of the least interesting things for me in terms of a knife, I like how it feels in hand, I like how it uses and everything else. Aesthetic-wise, just a bonus. But aesthetic-wise, this looks incredible. I love it. Again, this is being more prone to rusting, so I'm going to be for sure to oil it and a little bit EDCI on it and all that stuff. But aesthetic-wise, I love it. I wish it had 2 different thumb studs, so like you can kind of have the dual action thing. I talked to Dan about why he does that. There is a very valid reason for it. Complaint done. But man, I can't think of anything bad to say about this knife, which is crazy, right? Because I've been recording videos for a while now, doing all these first impressions or whatever. Some are positive, some are negative. I'm really thinking about recording a video after handling for a couple of weeks, and that being my first impressions. Now, I could do an unboxing, first impression, then review, but that kind of seems like padded content, right? A lot of channels do that, and I feel like it's more to get so you have more videos and more consistent uploads, but it's kind of just filler to me. So from now on, if I do an unboxing, it might be on Instagram, it might be some really brief thing. If I'm really excited about a knife and I just want you guys to see it, I might do an unboxing. Otherwise, first impressions are going to be a little bit down the line, because I almost slammed this knife, and that would have been an absolute travesty because this thing is incredible. Dan, I have nothing but the utmost respect for you, brother. I cannot wait to get that deluxe model in hand. And there's knives that with other companies I cannot stand, but somehow you make them to where they just fit and they are fantastic. Everybody knows I'm not really a fan of flipper guys. Everybody knows I'm not really a fan of flippers. I'm going to be getting a flipper from him. I'm going to be getting a thumb stud deployment from him. I'm probably going to try to get a gentleman's carry from him. Man, he's just a fantastic maker and a great human being, and I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. And everybody, hop on his books. He's very reasonable. He'll work with you on price. And this is $850. You know, that might seem a lot to you guys. You're not really into the whole custom world. But again, once you call him up, tell him what you want, tell him why you want it, and you understand that whole value proposition for what a custom knife is and how you have something that just fits you, I think you'll be very satisfied. I love this knife. And I could gush over it for the next half hour. I'm not going to. Some of you guys might watch that. Others, I suspect, will get very, very bored. But, man, overall, again, 10 out of 10, 100. The only complaint I have is, again, just that you can touch this blade, and it's a little sketchy. But, you know, after a week of carrying hard use, a couple weeks of carrying hard use, I haven't cut myself. I haven't had any problems with it. So I don't really think any of you guys will either. So, again, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. Absolute perfection. This is what a custom knife is. This is what it should be. Other makers take note. DSK, Dan Sullivan, he's a master. All that being said, thank you so much for your time, folks. I appreciate you all very, very much. I love you all very, very much. You are my heart, my soul, my community, and I cannot and will never get enough talking to you guys. Please comment in the section, comment below, and let me know how you feel about this knife, the video. If you want to compliment me, if you want to harp on me, you want to freaking roast me, everything is open. I'm gonna start saying that at the end of every video, because people are censoring YouTubers or censoring comment sections and everything else. Man, fuck that. Voice your opinion. If you say some weird sex offender, child molester, excessive racist shit, I'm going to block you. I'm not playing that crap at all. Otherwise, have at it, man. You want to call me a fucking idiot? Feel free. You want to praise me? Feel free. You want to roast me? Feel free. Agree, disagree, whatever the case may be, man, feel free. This community I'm trying to build is, I really just want it to be completely free reign. We can police ourselves. There are some general things that just nobody should ever really say. So those things, you guys know better than that. But again, comment, let me know, talk to me. I'll be happy to talk to you guys. I don't always respond to comments. I try really hard to, but I'm really busy at work. I read every single one, and I love them. I put thumbs up and heart signs and all of them. It's not me being sarcastic. It's not me just trying to interact a little bit. It's me genuinely showing that, hey, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and thank you. So with all that being said, please do me just as one personal favor and do the best you can to be a better person tomorrow than you are today. And I do promise you'll find your center in life. As always, I love you all. Take care. I love this knife. Look at it. It is beautiful. Anyways, take care, folks. Bye.